Time and welcome to today's professional development webinar series. I'm your host, Priscilla Hanson Mahoney, and I am the president of the Association for Consulting Expertise. And I would like to start by sharing a little bit about ACE. ACE is a 501c6. We're a nonprofit business association, and our mission is to promote business membership's professional development through education, resources, and professional development and collaborative relationships. And one of the ways that we're carrying out our mission is by providing educational webinars such as the one that you're attending today. And we like to feature the expertise of our members, but also bring in community members who have expertise in areas that we all need to learn from. Joann Krall is a professional organizer, and her gift to me has been simplicity. That is her basic gift, is creating something that can feel very chaotic and stressful and making it your own in your own program. So I know a lot of us have seen organizing programs that follow a basic formula, and Joann really advises against trying to match your own habits and abilities to somebody else's formula. She really makes it your own. So she has been really pivotal in not only my organizational success, but the organizational success of hundreds of others, as she is on social media at Joann Krall. You can follow her on all channels, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, everywhere. And she has been instrumental in creating easy flow processes that match people's habits. I hope that did justice for you, Joann. And
Yes,
I'm sure
thank
you
you.
will introduce yourself even more to us as we go along.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully I don't sneeze during this or sniffle too much because allergies are on high crazy. And hopefully I don't lose internet. I am down in Massachusetts, but um, our Wi-Fi has been crazy. So fingers crossed that that stays. All right. So I'm going to go through my presentation quickly. If you have questions, type them in and I will definitely answer them at the end. I am very much a person who I like to work on, back and forth and questions because, like Priscilla said, I like to keep things simple and I definitely don't believe in cookie cutter solutions. So everything that I'm talking about today isn't set in stone, and I'm going to try to, I'll clarify that as we go along. But um, really, the best solutions that work are the ones that work for you. It's just like a tool. The best tool, people always ask me, what's the best tool to do this? What's the best tool for that? And it's really the best tool is the one that you're actually going to use. So to get started, the first thing I'm going to talk about is distractions. Now, front and center is my puppy. He is not my biggest distraction, but he is the cutest, so I put him on the slide in big form. But pets are certainly a distraction. But these are some of the biggest distractions. Children at home, and keep in mind that as I'm presenting this, this would be something I would present all the time, but it's on high since we're all, most of us are at home all the time, especially with our children and our partners and whatnot. So children are a big distraction, especially when they're younger. But even when they're older, I have a 20 and a 22-year-old almost, and they are still a distraction. Our housework, just being in our homes more. There's really no place to escape now. Social media, spouses, partners, like I said. Down on the right-hand corner, I have a massively cluttered desk. Hopefully, nobody is in that situation, but it's just to show clutter. But everybody's level of clutter is different. And then obviously, like TV, Netflix. TV is just steps away. So some of these distractions can be eliminated. The social media, we can train ourselves to not go on it as much unless we're using it for business. TV, we can train ourselves to not do it, not look at it, or stop and get distracted. The clutter, we can take care of that, but it's not something we can immediately escape. We can't escape our pets, we can't escape our children, and we can't escape our partners. So my biggest tip is to keep track of what the distractions are. And maybe do this for a couple of days. You could do it for up to a week, but it's almost like food journaling. Or I always recommend people when they're struggling with time management to journal what they're doing during the time. So this would be very similar. Every time you get distracted, keep like a piece of paper or a note on your computer. Every time you're distracted, write the time, who it was, and what it was. So, for example, somebody could come down and talk to you for a second, and it may only distract you for a second, but it really throws you off course. So, it's really helpful to know what is distracting you, whether it's you doing it or it's external things. And this will help you in two ways. It'll help you to, if it's you doing it, it'll help you to say, all right, I need to stop doing that. If it's someone else, and I'm going to talk about this in the next thing. It's all about setting boundaries. This will help you, and I'll explain that in the next slide. So these are the distractions. And the reason why I start with distractions is because that really is the biggest challenge from working from home. Um, Working from home is a blessing, but it can also be a curse, especially for people who are procrastinators or people who are workaholics. And some people are both. You procrastinate, but you're constantly working. So distractions is a big one. Okay, so now here we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is setting boundaries. So we need to set boundaries with ourselves, and in that would be turning off your phone and your computer notifications, because that can be a huge distraction as your phone's ringing. We can set our phones to emergency calls coming through, or you can just have it silenced, but have it by you, and you can see quickly if it's an emergency. And then things like stop scrolling through social media, stop distracting yourself, and that's where taking the inventory, you'll know where you need to set up those boundaries with yourself once you've seen what the distractions are. Now, with family members, it's all about clear communication, and it's not necessarily in the moment. So, for example, if one of my kids came down right now and said, start talking to me, and I hadn't told them that I was going to be on a webinar, that would be a problem. So I've already informed them that I'm on a webinar. Don't come talk to me unless it's an emergency. One trick that can really help, especially with little kids, but even with adults, is to have a do not disturb sign. So I don't have a door on my office. So I could put it on the wall to the stairs. So when they come down, if that sign's up, they know, unless it's an emergency, do not come down. So it's all about communicating that ahead of time. And this is where you taking an inventory before you even communicate it with your family members, you can say, look, this is what's happening. These are the times that I was distracted. And you don't have to be accusatory, but just to give them an idea, it's really all about respecting your space. And even more important, with all of us home, I mean, it's crazy. But if it's something that you're always working from home, or you're always going to be working from home, this is really, really important. You want to set boundaries with clients. Using a scheduling software for people to set up their own appointments is super, super helpful. That way you're not having to think, you just have to think that one time, this is when I'm available. This is only when I'm available to my clients for appointments. And then if they're communicating with you in between, with email and text, just make sure that you've set boundaries with them. Certainly they can email you anytime or possibly text you anytime, but you may not get back to them, and they really need to know that. And then with everybody else. So there's, right now, there probably isn't everybody else, because nobody's knocking on our door or asking us for lunch or trying to pick our brain. That's a big one for, all of us that work for ourselves. People want to pick our brain all the time. They want to buy us coffee, and so really setting those boundaries with people is important. Don't feel guilty saying no. A lot of people don't respect when people work from home, especially. I find this very true with moms that work from home with small children. People think they're just got just a little project going on. More, people that are in a situation where, say, they're a business coach will use. People tend to respect that more, but still, you just want to set boundaries with people. And it's something that we need to train on all of these. It's all about training. It's going to take time to get family members to comply. If you've been letting them distracted, it's going to take time with yourself. So setting boundaries is huge. And I'm just going to look really quickly. Okay, see if I could see the chat while I was doing that. All right, this is one that you will see. So there's a million and one articles about working from home. And this one I see in every single one, don't work in your pajamas. And I actually sent this out to an email to my list. And because I kind of agree, to not work in your pajamas. But I had somebody say, that doesn't work for me. And I thought, you know what, you're right. I forget. I always preach you have to do what works for you. So if you are comfortable and productive in your pajamas and you don't need to be on screen, then by all means do it. I find that what works for me, though, is it's all about comfort. I used to be an accountant and I used to wear suits to work every day. Now, would I wear a suit now just to feel professional in what I do? Nope, because I want to be comfortable. So I wear jeans and a t-shirt most days. But a big thing that I do is I put shoes on. And I know a lot of people don't want to wear shoes in the house. I'm not allowed to. My kids won't let me. So I have indoor shoes that when I need to feel like I'm truly working, I have to have shoes on. Because if I'm in socks or slippers, I just don't feel like I'm productive. So it's really about what works for you. So that's just, I just wanted to put that in quick because you'll see that in every article. Make sure you get dressed, do your hair and your makeup and all that stuff. This simply isn't true for everybody. All right, so now talk about having a basic structure for your day. I like to be very flexible. I know Priscilla loves doing time blocking, and she and I have discussed this, that it doesn't work for me, but it is a great tool for people that it does work for. Some basic things that I would say, and I really should be looking at my notes because I had some more notes. This is why I don't use slides, because I like to just.
I'll let you know too, Joanne. If anybody has a question, they put it in chat.
Perfect.
We'll just holler it out for you.
Oh, awesome. That's good. That's good. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so getting up the same time each day, I think, is important, especially if you're somebody that was used to going to the office. It will keep your same kind of rhythm in play. Obviously, we have to be flexible with ourselves. But for me, I have that. And down the bottom, I'm going to talk about this in a minute about accountability partners. I'm not big on that, but my accountability partner is my dog. I have to walk him every morning. So I get up at the same time pretty much every day, walk him, and then I start my day, keep a routine. So that includes my exercise, walking him, and then I eat breakfast, and then I start my day. So I try to have that structure in place. And then scheduling breaks. Many of us that work from home, because we're so flexible, we tend to just, a lot of people work just through the whole day and the night, but off and on, so it's kind of, it's really not healthy. But I find that having an end to your day is important, because if you think about when you go to an office and then you come home, you have that commute time possibly to decompress. And so when we work at home, we don't have that time. We're all of a sudden, we're working and then boom, we're in our house. And so it's all about having that end to the day. Now for myself, I like to work part in the day and then sometimes part in the night. So if I have a big project going on and I need to do a lot of work, I'm much more productive at night, but I don't want to be working all day and so I will set a structure to my day in that way. So it's really about being flexible and thinking about ways that you could replicate the end of a workday. So another thing is, when I'm done working for the day, I clean up my desk, because you would think as a professional organizer that my desk is always clear and ready, but that's not how I work. I need to have everything out in front of me, and that's how I thrive. And so I clean up my desk at the end of the day and have everything ready for the next day. Where was I? Oh, so having an end to the day. So think about ways that you can, kind of put that definitive end to your day. That will really help. Finding an accountability partner. So this is one that, and it's very true for people who are typically working out of the house and now finding themselves home all the time, and not having anyone to hold them accountable. It could be somebody in your house, or it could be somebody outside of your house, and it really has to be. It's not set in stone. Some people work really well for this, and it could just be that you say, "I'm just going to say good morning to that person," like you would if you walked into the office and you said good morning to everybody. Everybody knows you're there. That's your accountability. You have to be there at a certain time, and you have to leave at a certain time, per se. So that's all. Really, when you think about accountability partners, there's a whole level of how that can work. for projects and stuff. But when you're thinking about the structure of your day, it could just be a simple good morning text. So that person knows you're awake and you're ready for the day. And each of you could do that. So in scheduling, I also I talk about this a lot with people, that when you work from home, everything around you is such a distraction. A lot of people they work from home, but they never really do work from home. They're in coffee shops or they're moving along. So now that we're kind of stuck here, this is even more important. And especially if you have a cleaning person typically and they're not allowed in your house, it's really important to have a housework schedule so that you can focus. So some people, they do all their cleaning on the weekends, and that's fine. That's good if you're not working and that's what you're doing. Other people, like myself, I don't like to clean on the weekends. I like to get my housework done during the week. So for me, I chip away. But really just having a schedule, because now you can use, like, when you set breaks during the day, you could use that time to do housework. If you really set your mind to, okay, I'm going to work on this project a little bit, just to give yourself a moving break, because it's important when you're working from home that you get up and move. And with all of us home, the dirt and the clutter are definitely filling up more. I don't know about you all, but I feel like I have run my dishwasher at least 3 times a day, doing dishes, cooking. I mean, it's insanity. Um, so you can either set up a schedule where you chip away. That's how I do it. So, like, I literally will clean my toilet one day, and then my sinks and my countertops in my bathrooms, or toilets, I should say, and sinks and my countertops another day. And that's how I work all the time. But or you can just say, I'm going to work these hours during this time and just kind of fit it in. Okay. Now to the actual, meat of organization. So it's very important to designate a workplace, but comfort is king, and it doesn't have to be a desk. Like I said, with us all at home now, everyone, a lot of times, like, so if you were working in an office and you had a desk and that's how you like to work, then by all means, you may want to have a desk. But I know a lot of people, when they're in their home, working at a desk just feels too constrictive. So it's really important to know that comfort is king, and that you could work from the couch as long as you're paying attention to ergonomics. I'm not an ergonomics expert, but if you Google it and look at the way you're supposed to be sitting, your feet flat on the floor, your back straight, your arms straight. If you can work in a situation like that, then really you can work from anywhere. I urge people to not set up a work area in their bedroom, because it's not healthy for us to work in our bedroom and then sleep in our bedroom. Now, we're in extreme circumstances now. Some of us have, I've had days where I've had to work in the bedroom because my husband would be on conference calls, my daughter was still in school, my other daughter was around. The only place that I could go was the bedroom because we run out of rooms. But in normal circumstances, I would recommend definitely not setting up an office in your bedroom. Now, some people, that's all they have. They only have a very small space and it has to be there. So what I recommend, if you're doing that, is to take your stuff, make your kind of your office and your bedroom more mobile, and remove the actual work at the end of the day. The same goes if you're working from the dining room table, to remove that at the end of the day, especially if you're going to eat dinner there. And so the ways you can do that is to have maybe an area of a closet, or you have a shelf, or you have another room where you can actually put the stuff organized. I'm going to talk about solutions for that in a minute. But it's important to clean that up at the end of the day if you don't have an actual desk set somewhere. I just want to look at my notes because I always forget like one thing about that. Yeah, so again, I just have to stress about making sure that you're aware of ergonomics, because you definitely don't want to be, kind of sitting at the kitchen table hunched over, or sitting, on the couch kind of slouched too much. It's really important to be aware of that, not just for productivity, but just for your overall well-being. I'm going to quickly touch on Feng Shui. Again, I'm not a Feng Shui expert. These 4 principles, though, are really important. Of course, do as I say, not as I do. The way my office is set up, sometimes I'm sitting facing the door or the out, but sometimes I'm sitting here facing in this direction. It really depends on what I need for lighting and what's going on. But it's important if you need to feel that sense of power and you want to project that, that can be really helpful for, like, if a family member did come in, you just look up, give them a look. But if you have your back to them, they may tend to just interrupt you. And that's true when we work in offices too. I remember when I had an office, at one point I was facing away from the door and I could sense people behind me, and it's just an odd feeling. So facing towards the door or having the door in sight, having something solid behind you as opposed to windows is good for the flow, and also having some space. They excuse me, they recommend having 3 feet of space, but as long as you have room to move around. And plants are really, really good for the office. They help absorb a lot of the energy and the electromagnetic, I can't even think of the word right now. I'm going to cough, so excuse me.
Funny, I'm gonna need to get a new house after this, Joann.
Well, and take this all with kind of, this is just, if you're going to work in your house and you have a dedicated office, these are the things you want to think about if you can set up.
Yeah.
Many of us don't have a dedicated office. We just have a corner of the house. And so there's only so much you can do. So that's why plants are really good, because you can have those no matter where you are, and as long as you have the space, but I suppose you could hang them. But it is important to not have, I really do find that if you have a window behind you, I don't know, I can feel it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But
I actually have spiral staircase behind me, so it's
Mhm.
the way that things work. But Arthur had
Yeah.
a good point too, and it's a question.
Yeah.
Should part of the work rhythm be clearing the desk or the table, even if the dining room table isn't needed for something else? I'm thinking rituals that remind us of work-life balance. So he's asking about rituals.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not using the dining table and that is the only place that you're keeping your office and you're going to leave it there, I think that it's important to neaten it up at the end of the day, because it is a place where people are probably walking through. You know what I mean? So, or that if you're seeing that constantly, uh, you know, many people are blessed to have an office they can just shut the door and leave, and so they don't see it. But if it's in your living space and you're seeing it, I think it is important to keep it in order. And when I say in order, it's what feels right for you. um you know like I said, I'm a person who piles papers, and so for me, I don't have to have a clear desk at the end of the day. I just have to make sure that everything is not just thrown everywhere. There's certain piles, and they'll work, and I'll get to that in a minute, how I manage that. But yeah, I do think it's important to have that. It goes back to that end of the day. What do you do when you're done working? Let's kind of close it up and say, okay, now I'm done working now. Now it's going to be home life. So whatever that means for you, if it is picking things up, or I'm trying to brainstorm how it would be. I know for me, it would be mainly just making sure that everything's in order and ready for the next day. Hope that answered that. Okay, so these are just some ways. So I'm trying to give people solutions that this would be more for somebody. This could be for somebody who has a dedicated office, um, but also for people who need to be more mobile. That's kind of what I'm going to talk about, because a lot of us are thrown into a new situation where we don't have an office and we just need to work with what we have. So, and specifically, I'm talking paper here. If you have a purely digital business with barely any paper, that's amazing, because you can just kind of move around and it's easy to kind of button things up at the end of the day, shut down your computer, and move on. But these are some things that I just want to quickly talk about. So, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is that bottom left-hand um, corner. And Priscilla, can you actually see me on camera? Because I'm looking at just my screen.
I can see you. Yep.
Okay, so that bottom left-hand corner those are called Polly Pocket. Polly Pocket. Oh my gosh, anybody who have girls will remember. Polly, they are Polly Pocket. They're 10 pocket Polly folders. This is what I use for, I have very minimal paper, but I do have some paper and I need to keep it out. So, and when I'm talking about keep it out, it's not files for retention or, things that have been done. This is working stuff that needs to be done. So like I said, I'm very visual and I need to have things out. Now I could do it any number of ways on here, right? Any number of ways on the screen would hold that paper for working, because, you could have it on the wall, labeled, the way you want it. for me personally, because I move my stuff a lot, these folders, and if you can see it, I use these folders literally, and I have one for business, I have one for personal, and then when I was a treasurer of an association, I had one for that. So anytime I have like a separate area of my life, I create one of those. And actually, my girls use those for school, because anybody with children, if their schools use the binder system, those binders are heavy. Things need to be hole punched, and for kids who are disorganized or adults that are disorganized, that can be a problem because it doesn't always sit well or fit well. So these are really great. So I have those separated depending on, so say for my personal one, I have, to do today, to do, I have my to do set up today, this month, this year, and then someday. Literally have pockets for those. And then I keep any paper bills that I'm going to be paying in there. So it's my way of having that because I can grab and go. Right now, I'm not grabbing and going to a coffee shop, but I am grabbing my stuff because I have to quickly move to my bedroom. So that way I have my piles. I consider that my piles of paper that I can just quickly grab and go. But having your stuff in a system, this would all be for things that need to be done. Paper trays never worked for me. I just wouldn't look at them. Same thing, anything with folders, I just wouldn't look at, because in my mind, and I know this seems silly, but it's in my mind, folders means file it in a drawer. Because if you're lucky to have drawers like I am, you can file stuff away, and it's great. Anything that you need to file. So in my mind, files were stuff that's already been done. So for me, I needed these little books. But some people use those accordion folders to grab their stuff and go. And then it's 2 pages from now, but just quickly, using these portable file thing. If you don't have filing cabinets and you do have files and you need to move them from place to place, or you just don't have a place for them, these can be really great. And then on the right there, that's not actually my safe, but I do have that safe. That's a fireproof safe. I recommend everybody have a fireproof something, whether it's a box, a safe, or filing cabinet for any important papers, and that's for personal or business because you want to make sure that they stay safe. But yeah, I mean, if you have the opportunity to set up an office and you're used to working with filing cabinets and a desk, that's certainly the way to go. But I wanted to specifically address people who had, need to move stuff around. And that's why I talk about this, creating an office in a bag. And I know, Priscilla, I think you do this. You carry stuff to and from your work in a backpack, which can certainly work as well. And this stuff can be used around the house too. I mean, you could have all of your stuff kind of temporary. If you don't have a dedicated office space and you're working from your dining room table and you want to clean up at the end of the day, you could put it in, you could put your supplies and things in this and tuck it away in a closet and then pull it out at the end of, at the beginning of the day. I love this one on the left. I don't know where that's from. I would love to find that because that's kind of cool. That's good for people who are traveling in the car. You need to grab your all your stuff and go. It's almost like just grab that whole office and go.
It looks like a diaper bag.
The one on the left? On the right. Yes, the one on the right definitely looks like a diaper bag. I mean,
like you could repurpose stuff. You don't have to go out and buy new fancy stuff.
And you're ahead of me. That's what I was going to say. Like a lot of times we have things like this already in our house. Like the one on the left looks like something that I have for my car for like to gather groceries in. You know what I mean? That you could almost put your stuff in. So think about repurposing. I use, and I don't know if I don't have one in hand, but when I was going out to clients, I would have to bring supplies with me, to have like paper clips and staples and stuff. And I would use little craft boxes and I would just sort all my stuff in that. And then I had it all in one bag. So I had containers within the bag. So yes, absolutely. Repurpose what you have, especially if you're not sure if it's going to work for you. I mean, everything that I'm talking about, I don't recommend anybody invest a lot until they understand. I've had a lot of people go, oh, I want to have this office and I'm going to get this beautiful desk and do this stuff. And then they tell me they work at their kitchen table or their dining room table. And I'm like, then why are you spending the money to set up the desk when they tell me they don't use the desk, but they do use the drawers that are in the desk for files? And I'm like, well, you could create a portable file box and just put that in a closet somewhere, and then you work from wherever you are. I mean, more and more of us are having less and less paper, even though we still have a lot of paper. But yeah, so it's all about really finding what works for you. And that's why I wanted to leave a lot of time for questions, because that's really, we're all so different in how we do things. Some people need to have that home base. They don't want to move anything. They just want to work from one spot, and that's all there is. And I think that was the end. That was the end of my actual presentation. Hopefully that wasn't too quick, because I tend to talk fast. I do apologize for that. How do I stop sharing? There we go.
There we go. I always learn something new from you, even though I've heard your presentations before. And the main thing that I took away from this is I do it. You say, you shared, I block time, but that housework schedule, I think even more so now than ever, because we do have another office, but we haven't been going there lately because
right.
of this whole thing. And so I've been home more. So I'm like, oh, I can just throw in a load of laundry. Oh, I can just, and it tends to creep, and I'm finding those habits of creating that, even you think, oh, it's my work schedule I have to organize, but it's actually the combination of the both.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, especially, if I've been working at home for 20 something years now. And before I was going out of the house more, but it was mostly work from home. And, in a good portion of that, my kids were young. So it's all about working around their schedules. And that's one thing that I forgot to mention too. That's some of the reason why I'm in that habit of doing some of the work during the day and some at night, because what I would do is when they went to school, I would work while they were in school, stop working, and then I would work when they were doing homework or when they were in bed, because that's when I had my time. So that's working around distractions, because there are some distractions that just can't be eliminated. I mean, it's just bad.
Right. You always talk to about the different types of people. So in other words, and I talked to you about this before, Joann, my husband's desk gives me great anxiety, but to him it's organized because he's a file person. Where I'm a put everything in its place person. And you said, no, you're both being organized. Because I thought he was going to need a major, intervention. And you're like, no, the way he's doing things is organized. So can you talk about the different types of people, like the pile people and the put everything in people?
Well, I have my quiz, and I'll talk about that in a second. But
cool.
Well, the first thing is messy doesn't mean disorganized. I talk about it all the time, and I keep pointing to my husband, but he's in Maine with you guys. So not with you guys, but he's in Maine, because otherwise we would not survive together. But by the way, we're getting cable up there. So I may be moving to Maine. So he is super organized, and he's got stuff on his desk. It's not clear right now, but he's very much put everything away at the end of the day, like literally put it away. I clean things up. I don't put it away. And he would say to me, like, he came into my office right now, he'd be like, oh my God, it's a mess, right? Because there is stuff all over my desk right now. And he'd go, how come your desk is like that? When you worked in an office, it wasn't like that. Well, there's reasons for that, because there were cleaning people that would come in. But if you looked in my drawers, all those piles that are here right now were just in a drawer neatly, So my desk was clear at the end of the day. I don't have to do that here because I'm the one cleaning, so I'm not going to be moving stuff around. But yeah, so messy doesn't mean disorganized.
Right.
How many people have you walked into their office and said, can I have that paper? And within 2 seconds they find it, even though you're like, they're not going to find it, and they find it. Or on the flip side, you've walked into someone's office and asked them for something, and they're like, oh, I'll get back to you, because they can't find anything because it's all shoved in the door. So that's where it goes back to some people like myself are pilers. We're very visual. So if you were to open any of my closets, drawers, filing cabinets, filing systems, anything, cabinets, all organized. But I have surface clutter, because it's stuff that I need to visually remember. Then there are people who are stashers, who love their home, their office to be clean and immaculate. And you walk in and it looks like everything's beautiful. And you open up every closet, cabinet, drawer, and it's a disaster. And then, of course, there's the people that the surfaces and the things, and those are the people that are truly, they just have too much stuff.
Yeah.
And they need to purge down. And those are my avoiders, we call them. So, and I had a thought and I just kind of went through me and out. But so it's important to understand that. And that can be really hard. Like you said, it gives you anxiety to see a messy desk. And
like, how do you do it? And he's like, what?
Right? I mean, it's fine. We all have our different levels of clutter. And, preparing for this, I wanted to make sure that I was reading what other people would be reading, and everything said, clear the clutter off your desk. You need to have a clear work surface to work. And I just shake my head and say, no, that freezes me. Not in the morning. Like if I came down to my desk in the morning, I wouldn't go, oh, where am I going to start? I would if my piles weren't there. But during the day, I need to have everything out. Like a clear space doesn't work for me. It works for many people.
If it's out in front of him, he remembers to do it. If it's tucked away, he'll forget all about it. So
yeah,
that's a really good point, that there's different styles of organization. And Terry asked a good question. And I know you have a course about this too, paperwork versus digital. Digital organization is particularly challenging, especially avoiding duplicate files and finding things when I need it. How many items cross category lines? Any hints? So he wants to know more about digital organization.
Yeah, I know. Digital clutter is quickly taking over many people's lives. So duplicate files and finding when you need it. This is where that's probably one of the trickiest things for people. So I think that you need to sit down and think to yourself, okay, when you think of a file, say, I'm trying to think of an example.
Terry Johnson, our vice president.
Yeah. Terry, if you can provide an example, that would be helpful because my brain's not all with it.
I think a lot of times, and I know Terry and I have talked about this a few times because we've been trying to decide where we should have the files for ACE live, and
yeah.
So of course we have cloud files. We have it on Google Drive, but sometimes Google Drive doesn't work or it doesn't have enough capacity, so we have to send it through Dropbox. Or then some people store everything through OneDrive because they have the Microsoft suite. Or like if you're like me and don't trust the cloud at all, you've got hard drives sitting around.
Or like me, you have both. Triple backup.
And then when you go to find it, you're like, where did I store it? Or you have multiple versions of the same document. Which one is the newest, most updated one? So I can totally relate to that. So, and I know you have a course about dealing with digital.
Yeah, so the course itself is really about reducing. So that's where I always say start. Like everybody wants to start with the systems. Everybody wants to start with the systems. They want to know, how do I set up my files? What do I need to do? And to be honest, I think probably, I don't know, we'll guess 80% of people just need to reduce. Because when you talk about multiple versions of documents, sometimes that's important to keep prior things, revisions. Sometimes there's no getting around that. You have to have each revision. Whatever, it could be like a legal thing or whatnot. Sometimes you don't need those prior ones. You just need the current ones. So that's, knowing that is big. And naming files is everything. And coming up with a naming convention that is going to work. And that is something you don't want to start with, because if you start saying, all right, this is how I'm going to name my files, and you start going through and doing it, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't work for this, or this file getting back to Terry's thing of some files go in two different places. So it's really about knowing 100% what you're dealing with before you even think about that. Because for digital files, it's either naming conventions or an actual filing structure. You have to be able to search them or to actually have them in folders. So for example, my bank statements. I don't name all of my bank statements with the bank name, the account, and all that. I have folders so say I have two different banks. So say I have bank one, bank two. These statements are going into this one. Those statements, files, I only have them named by the month and the year. So because I have them in the folders that they need to go into. But some people don't even like folder structures. They just want to be able to retrieve something by name. So it's really important to name files properly. So that may help. So
the one thing you taught me too was to keep your file tree the same for your cloud and for your hard drive. So
yes.
I went through and you also taught me to not have a gazillion folders, but to categorize them. So I have, Blazing Trails,
Yeah.
Ace,
Mm-hmm.
Toastmasters, and
Yeah.
so, and personal. And so having the trees set up the same way in each of the, so I
Yeah.
can cross-reference and copy easier for
Yeah. And
backup.
that works for a certain, that doesn't work for everybody. Some people, again, that's just way too much structure.
Right.
Just like a physical filing cabinet. I have a filing cabinet over here with, all my files alphabetized and set. Some people would never even be able to do that. They just want to dump everything into a
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
So that's when somebody might say, all right, I'm going to have a box over here called, I don't know, photos. And then here's a box called bank statements. And so they just need to dump everything into
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
those big buckets. And, but again, it's all about naming, because if your file, if you save an image and you just have, it's called image, you're never gonna be able to find it. Or either that, you'll be in your photos file and scrolling and scrolling
Right.
and scrolling.
Right.
So, and it's always starting with, I can go through those. I have a process called changes, and this works for both paper and digital. The first step is to collect, right? So if you have paper all over your office or your home, you want to collect everything. Just literally throw it all in a box. I know that sounds crazy and scary, but it's all in one place, and then you go through the process. For digital, that's more about knowing where all your stuff is, and you don't have to do like an inventory of every file's here, but we all kind of have the same habits. So generally what you put in Dropbox, what you put like in, the different cloud services, what you put on your hard drives, your picture, so it's getting an idea of what you've been doing and where it is. And then harmonize for paper and digital is all about reducing and being mindful of what we're downloading and what we're saving and what we're printing and what we're copying and all of that. And then assigning is taking care of the stuff that's coming in while you're going through this whole process of reorganizing. So assigning is your mail comes in, where does it go? How do you process it? For digital, it's anytime I download a file, where am I going to put it? I personally have seen it's more common than not that everybody has a desktop on their computer covered in files of things they've just downloaded. Oh, I got to remember that. I remember that. So I try to tell people to create buckets on their, and I do this for everything. Buckets of, these are things that need to be paid. These are things that need to be read. These are things that need to be filed at some point, and then these are things that need to be done that aren't bills. So maybe like an insurance renewal or things like that. So assigning, so really having a process of where everything's going to come in, because that's going to be separate from everything that you're kind of organizing. And then we get to the purging stage. So doing all those steps, then we start to just reduce. And I recommend people reduce and reduce and reduce and reduce and reduce until they can't reduce anymore. Because usually by the time people have reduced everything, you realize they don't have that much.
Right.
With digital filing, we feel like we have unlimited space, even though we don't. But I mean, even with the limited space that we have, there's still so much information packed in that. If we don't pay for any services and we just have what we have, there's so much. I mean, it's amazing how much information we can hold. So, so then once you've reduced as much as you can, then you group things and you're like, okay, now I know what I'm working with. And then you have to evaluate. So we're at changes E for evaluate. And that's when you have to say, okay, how did I get to this point? What was I doing? What was working for me? What hasn't worked for me? It's all about understanding, what has been working, what hasn't, so that then you can create the systems. Because then you can say, all right, would a filing structure work for me? A digital filing structure, or do I need to really come up with a good naming convention and really train myself to do that. Like, and even like a lot of people shy away from a naming convention because they just don't have time. So even if you had a file on your desktop that said files to be named, that you threw stuff in, and you look at that and you go through that, maybe, you set your time, the end of each day, the end of each week, the end of each month, whatever makes sense for you. And then you categorize them. And I'll equate that to, I can't stand filing. I hate filing papers, but I have to file some papers. So what I do is I have a folder in front of my actual physical filing cabinet that says to be filed. And again, I said I have one on my computer, to be filed. Because if I was to download all my statements and file each one, it'd take me forever. Whereas if I put them all in one thing, and then I go through them quickly and just move them, instead of download, move, download, make sure it goes into the right place, that type of thing. So, and that works for me. My husband, he grabs a piece of paper, he processes it, he files it right away. That works for him. It does not work for me. I mean, I think I wrote a blog on this about, does your paper looks like it do your papers look like they have measles? Because people will recommend that, you put a little red dot on a piece of paper every time you touch it. Mm-hmm. And then you can see how many times you've handled it. Yeah, I mean, if I didn't do what I do, they would. I mean, I just don't want to file.
I'm giggling at Terry because he said, my naming conventions change all the time, mostly due to having so many things cross projects, organizations, companies, etc. Leads to duplicates. Also, email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my first question to you, Terry, would be, are you saving too much? I mean, is everything that you're saving have to be saved? That would be my first question. Because, like I said, when we have, we think that digital clutter is, we don't physically see the digital clutter as much as we do. So if you look around your room, you say, oh my God, I can see all the clutter now. Most of the times you walk through the room, you don't even think you're seeing it, but you are. And it's the same with digital clutter. You turn on your computer, you're like, all right, I'm ready to work. You don't realize if, like, say your desktop screen is filled. People may or may not say it doesn't stress me out, but I don't know. I mean, how many people have I seen hold up their phone and show me they have 11,000 or 110,000 unread emails? I'm like,
anxiety.
Right? That gives me anxiety. And they say it doesn't give them anxiety, but sometimes when I dig deeper, it does, Sometimes they laugh about it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, email is a big one.
Well, I think a lot of times, too, we think it's okay to have, we're getting away from paper because we're trying to be environmentally aware. But I think it was you who mentioned that even digital files create a footprint that we're not aware of. And
100%. I mean, my husband worked for EMC for how many years? I mean, I just look at how much that's grown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the servers that are everywhere. People say, oh, it's in the cloud. Well, the cloud isn't just a cloud. There are servers all over this world that are generating and needing backups and using energy. I mean, just the email. Just think about Gmail. How many people don't clean out their Gmail? How much storage does Gmail alone use?
Right.
I mean, insane.
And that does create an impact.
It does.
Terry does say he's probably saving too much.
So I have one tip for that.
He has a little guilt around trashing some stuff.
Yeah. So if you have something, all right. So this is very much to the point where, like, if you're getting rid of physical stuff, you either love it or you need it, right? Most digital stuff we don't love unless it's photos. You either love it or you need it, or you might need it someday, right? So those might need it someday things, you have to ask yourself, would this be easy to find again, or would it be hard to replace? So with a digital file, if it's something that you've created, it's not going to be easy to find again if you created it and it's nowhere else. Or if it's something you received from somebody that you won't receive again, you can create like a folder on your cloud or on your computer or on a different hard drive that says things to be tossed and date it, right? So say you do a big clean out and you date it, and a year from now, if you haven't used it, probably don't need it, or whatever time frame you can think of. That way you can delete it. It's almost like putting it in the recycle bin, but not, because recycle bin should be emptied out. But It's like a separate recycle bin that's showing you, okay, I put these in here on this date, and you could create one every month so that you could then stagger through
Yeah,
them, and then
yeah.
you can get rid of them. But
Kind
if
of
you
like when you
needed
put
it, you
files in
wouldn't
the
be like,
attic
oh my
and you
god,
go grab another file box
yeah,
and get rid of it. And that can be
yeah.
shredded. So it's the
So
same deal.
yeah, and there's so many parallels to physical and digital clutter that you can. There's always a way to kind of deal with them the same but
Yeah,
different. If it makes sense, yeah. But digital clutter is, I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's so much. There's so many files out there. I mean, think back when we had the little 3.5-inch floppies, or even the big floppies. How much data they held? Nothing. And now we can just on our phones alone.
oh yeah.
That's
Well,
you know.
that's my big nemesis is photos, and I know you have a photo course too. I
Hmm.
need to jump into that, especially
Get
now
on
that I
it.
have time to do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But my phone probably has over 2,000 photos on it,
Oh, yeah,
which is bogging down my phone. And then I've got thousands of other photographs on my computers
yeah,
and hard drives as well, and a lot of them probably are duplicates.
yeah,
And while it is crucial that I organize those and get them down pat, just like I do with my files for work,
yeah,
no, because and that's why I've neglected it. But at the
yeah.
same time, it is nice to be able to find photos when you want to, you know.
Right. So my trick for me is I always keep a very low gigabyte phone so that I
Yeah,
can't. And I do a lot of video on my phone, so I'm constantly having to delete stuff because I can't fit it, because if
right,
there's stuff on
right.
there. And also, somebody mentioned to me the other day, a lot of that's personal photos, right? But then those of us that do a lot of work on social media, we have
Yeah,
tons of business photos.
yeah,
And I find people saving like like they'll post something to Instagram, to Facebook, to Twitter, or whatever, and they'll have all these different sizes and they save all of them. And I'm like, but it's on Instagram. You can get
right,
rid of it on your
right.
own thing. You're never going to repost that again, unless it's something, specific to like your business. But like a lot of people they're like, well, I got to keep it. I posted on Instagram, but I got to keep it. And I'm like, you really got to think about it. Are you going to use it again?
Right,
And
right,
I don't import my photos off of my phone until I've cleaned them off my phone. Like I won't import them because a lot of people do that. They'll just import them and then they'll sit on their computer and their phone will be clear and then
yeah.
they'll import again. And
That's
a lot of
my
it's
thing.
just
I dump them into a
screenshots.
folder called iPhone, and that's where they live.
Yeah, yeah,
Forever and ever, amen. So I
yeah.
definitely need to jump into your photo course. Tell us about, you've got different courses. You've got paper, digital courses. You've got photo courses. Tell us a little bit about that and how people can get in touch with you.
Okay, yeah. So I had my screen up. My site is just my name, joannkrall.com. So my courses are actually all about reduction. So I have one for the home, for photos, and for paper and digital. That's the reduction piece. That's all about how you let go and how you reduce everything. And then because I don't believe in the cookie cutter solutions and I can't create a course for anybody to show them how to do everything, I do group coach. I have a group coaching program now. That's been my journey over the past 3 years, probably like, well, 5 years, but 3 years fully online is trying to find that balance. So I do a lot of private coaching, um, but I find that the group coaching is great because everybody learns from each other. And that's where we get into systems. I mean, now some people will go through the programs, reduce everything, and realize that, okay, I don't really need to figure out, I already know what I can do for a system now. I've learned to
Mm-hmm.
reduce everything. I know what I'm doing. And then what I've recently started doing is group sessions, those day things. That's something I'm testing right now.
Oh,
We'll see.
dogs are barking. Mailman's here.
So then I will do. I'm just starting testing these out where it's a 3-hour session where you come work on whatever I'm doing that day. So like last week I put out two for the kitchen, and then I put one out yesterday for clothes closets. Haven't had any actual takers, lots of interest, but people aren't ready. And then this week I'm doing them on offices. So literally people come and say, okay, what is your focus for today? Where can I help you start? And then it's really about reducing and getting this
That's
stuff done. And
perfect.
I'm there. Yeah.
So yeah, jump on Joann's Facebook page. She'll guide you through different areas of the home, different areas of your business. I know I've received a lot of help from Joann. And for those of you who are new to ACE, I just wanted to let you know too that if you are curious more about the Association for Consulting Expertise, we do offer more programs like this. Right now, everything is being offered digital, just like everyone else. We're doing some webinars and some virtual roundtables, some virtual networking. So please jump onto our website at aceelevates.com and go to the events tab, and you will see the events that we have planned out for the remainder of May. And if you want to know more about membership, there's a membership tab. Click that, and we're more than happy to answer any questions that you may have about ACE membership. Joann, I want to thank you again for hopping on, sharing your expertise. I know it was very helpful, especially some of us have been doing this a while, but we have new distractions at home to deal with, and so that's always, it always adds to the layers of complication in our lives. So we really appreciate you coming out and sharing today, so that we can hopefully be more organized and at least more at peace through this transition.
I mean, that's the one thing I will end with is definitely give yourself grace, because it's not easy. I mean, like I said, I've been doing it for 20 years and I'm still like, oh, some days,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joann.
Thank
Hope
you.
you have a great day. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's webinar, and have a great day as well. Talk to you soon.